Hello, ActiveSage here on the Sage channel, and this is something a little bit different today. What I'm doing right now is I'm going to go ahead and give you guys a heads up on everything that's going on with me. I'm sure you've noticed my content has been sporadic for about the last week. Well, my content's always been sporadic, hasn't it? That's sort of something I want to work towards maybe fixing, but I'm not sure how much I will get. I'm also going to explain a little bit about joint survival and the reason why there's so much of that and sometimes so little of everything else. I'm going to reiterate the reason why sometimes joint survival on my channel is so far behind joint survival on everybody else's channels. I'm going to do a reminder right now. Remember, Tazu is in the military, so that's why he's not around so much. He's doing like a 2 or 3 month service thing, and then he's going to be going and flying and joining the Keen Software House guys who make medieval engineers and space engineers, and actually working with them. But he said he should actually be able to hop on and work with us again. I personally am hoping that at that point we'll be able to maybe get a dedicated server house out of the Keen Software House. It's something some people have said maybe they could help us with. I don't know. We're unsure about that. But for sure, I'm hoping that we'll have Scott, Tazu, Aaron, and I all playing survival. Maybe Nick too. I do like hanging out with Nick a lot and playing Warframe. If you don't know, Nick is one of my friends. He goes by the name of Satan, of all things, on Steam, and in our games at least. Anyway, that's that. That's the news on Tazu, if you've forgotten. Again, for joint survival, the reason why my videos are so far behind everyone else's is because usually every Friday or so we'll record, and it's been the last 2 Fridays, and I'm pretty sure we'll record this Friday as well. We record for about 3 to 6 hours. I'm not even kidding. We had a 6-hour session, I think 2 weeks ago or something. I think that was the one where we had a lot of crashes and Aaron vanished for ages without saying anything. So we'll record for 3 to 6 hours, and most of the content I like to watch or listen to is, I'm a big fan of like the Yogscast, the Hat Films guys particularly, and a bunch of those survival series, and people just playing games and having really funny conversations. I'm actually really bad about watching videos, truth be told. About the only thing I actually watch is Sark's videos, because he puts a lot of text on screen. A lot of times I end up just listening to the conversations that like Hat Films and Sibs are having back and forth with everybody. So when it comes to me editing my videos, a terrible truth is, if it's not one of the videos where I've actually taken the time and put a lot of text and stuff in there, unfortunately I probably edited that video mostly by sound and sort of going off of, okay, somebody said this, so I'm going to cut out this little bit here, and oh god, now, oh no, I'm talking about this, I need to go back and edit that one bit back in because I mentioned it earlier, because otherwise I'm just randomly talking about that, which is something I do, but it seems more reasonable to make sure I go back and have a logical track to the way I edit, so that the conversations all usually make sense. Like, why is Sage so grumpy about Aaron doing this? Well, it's because a few minutes earlier, Aaron had been talking about how his ship just blew up, or how he's working and using materials to build a big exploration ship, which I'm not sure is really helpful when we don't even have a working mining ship, and his mining ship that he built is now crashed and not working, and I am having to repair it again. God dang it, why am I babysitting everybody? That's the way I feel sometimes. I know it can't possibly be true, it's just me being slightly self-centered, I'm sorry. Anyway, so that's joint survival. We record for 3 to 6 hours, and then because I like audio-based shows and YouTube content usually, I go ahead and edit to have most of those conversations in, to have the whole journey of getting to the accomplishment. So it's not just episode start, today we're going to do this, and then a few little funny things, and episode ends, and there's the final product. I like to actually show the whole journey getting there, because you know, if you're just suddenly in heaven, you kind of miss the whole point of life, eh? So that's the whole idea there, is I enjoy the conversations we have, the funny setbacks, and showing the tedium of, hey, we built this thing. It wasn't just a lickety-split thing. We actually had to work and build all these ships to get it done, or, you know, this, that, and the other thing. But there's some survival episodes I'm going to be editing through and probably putting out this week that is from our last bulk. I'm going to be getting farther and farther behind, I get the feeling, but from our last bulk, and we did a lot of grinding down a base in that one, so it's going to be a whole lot of, well, I don't know, I remember some very fond conversations there, so I don't know, I enjoyed that, but hopefully it'll be decent watching and listening to, and I'm going to try to make a point of actually editing in more text and stuff, because I was thinking back, and I used to edit in a lot more little tiny quick snippets here and there, and a bit of the marker or something about. But I kind of got away from that somehow. I don't know. I started just doing survival completely by listening to it, not doing enough visual cues to actually, you know, help out those people that are actually taking the time to watch the content and not just listen to it. So I need to get back into the habit of adding lots of little text bits in. If you've seen my most recent Medieval Engineers video, I'm sure you saw a little bit of text things in there. That is the funkiest bloody video I've ever done, the update video for this week. There was, I like sat down, I'm like, okay, I got family in town, by the way, right this week, and probably next week too. So I'm a bit like spurgy right now. It's another reason the content's spurgy, but I'm also tired from that. They come from the north, and either their perfume or something stuck to their clothes from Mississippi? No, near Chicago, Illinois and stuff. Something about that causes the little U-video thing in my throat to swell up. So I'll be sitting there trying to lay down and go to bed, and I can feel the thing resting on the back of my tongue, or even right now I can feel it in the back of my throat. It's bugging the crap out of me, so that puts me on edge and makes it more difficult to speak. And then, of course, having family in town, I don't want to spend the whole day back here editing videos and stuff. I want to hang out with them, or I want them to come back here and play on one of my computers with me. And we played some Star Citizen the other day, and yeah, it was pretty fun. My cousin Mark, kind of subpar, but his cousin, my second cousin, Sam, she did a great job. She was actually pretty decent. They insisted on using the joystick, though, so they had a bit of trouble with that. Anyway, so yeah, that's another reason why some stuff's finicky, and that's the reason why that Medieval Engineers update video is a bit more extra finicky, because I sit down and I'm like, I am recording this once, god dang it, and I'm not re-recording it again like I did my Space Engineers recent video, which I recorded 3 times and still wasn't exactly happy with it. So you're gonna see some ridiculously finicky stuff in that video if you haven't seen it already. And like the new AI they added is, my god, that's a little bit of a nightmare. I really do wish Keen Software House would say, look, we're gonna release updates every 2 weeks. Maybe 1 week will be Medieval Engineers, and then 2 weeks, and then the next week it'll be Space Engineers, and then Medieval Engineers, like on a back and forth thing. That way each team has 2 weeks to work on getting a relatively polished update out. Even though that that Oxygen update was fantastic, so I don't know, I guess maybe they don't need 2 weeks with that. It's just me feeling overworked by trying to get updates videos and then feeling like I'm not doing a good enough job on them, not feeling like I'm building up enough custom stuff, which this Medieval Engineers, I spent like 6 to 8 hours building a custom castle. It has interiors, I don't even show those. Anyway, that's that for, well, that. As for other videos on my channel, Alien Isolation. October of last year, I recorded like 8 or so hours in one sitting. I still have not edited all that out. I have a video that should be out right now. If it's not, I don't know what happened, of Alien Isolation. I just need to, it just takes a long time. These are like 30 to 40 minute videos, and it means I have to sit there and watch through the whole thing, and oftenly doing little edits, sound tweaks if I scream too loud, and lots of little stuff like that. If I see something funny, or I feel like I need to point out something, like when I miss those bloody flamethrower containers, I edit those in. So those, even though it seems like it should be the easiest, simplest content in the world, it actually takes a huge amount of time to just go through and edit that. Even though it's little tiny tweaks, you still have to actually be paying attention or else you'll miss them. And that's the same for the Space Engineers Joint Survival as well. If I'm not paying attention to that, I can miss stuff, and I've fallen asleep at my desk before, because there are like 5 to 20 minute periods there where we don't talk. Or we'll talk very little, and I'll end up just saying, okay, that's useless. So I'll fall asleep, I'll wake up, and I'll go, uh-oh, and I have to rewatch it. And then, of course, you don't ever see that in the video, because I cut out most of it, and then just have, like, little tiny few words we said here, like, somebody talks about their ship they just found. And then I cut ahead to 20 minutes later, like, what happened to that ship anyway? Oh, it got away, and that, just us mentioning that leads into a bigger conversation, where otherwise, if I hadn't had that little tiny 2-second clip that I saved from the middle of that giant period of silence, people would go, wait, what ship are they talking about? So I feel like I need to keep those in there. So yeah, that's a bit finicky, and it's always nice to see it when it's done, though, knowing that I got my music that I place in post, because I do all my music. I keep saying that. Why does that make me laugh? I do put in all of my music in post when it comes to Joint Survival, Medieval Engineers, and Space Engineers content. Like 100% of that music you're hearing, it's completely done in post. I don't actually have the sound in-game, the music in-game on at all. And I actually have the sound really low, so if I need to cut something, I can. Yeah, that's Joint Survival, I think, covered. I think I've explained that well enough, hopefully. Rambling a little bit, unfortunately. What else do we have to cover? I've talked about Alien Isolation, how that should be. I just need to sit down and edit. I sat like 2 or 3 weeks ago. I sat down and edited like 3 or 4 episodes in one sitting. Just sat there and edited them out, and okay, good to go. And I'm a very very multitasky person, and editing murders me because I can't listen to music while I'm doing it. I have to just sit there in silence and watch all these little bars and stuff and put the text in, or if I do text, and it just kills me to sit there in silence for that long. Even right now, I actually do have music playing. It's not the music you're listening to. It's actually, I got Pandora going, I've got Narves something on the Labyrinth, whatever going, and Rammstein a minute ago, and Tron before that. So even now, I cannot sit still, or I can sit still, but I just cannot have silence. So editing murders me. It's the reason why long form stuff like that, like Alien Isolation, where I just have to sit there and watch it and make sure I'm not missing anything. And it's something I've of course watched because I was there the first time. I don't know, it's a bit finicky for me. I end up not wanting to edit it, that's why. Damn fun game though, and incredibly long. I'm still not done with it. What else? I think that's it. Joint survival and space engineer, or medieval engineers and space engineers, large build structures. The reason I'm not doing those is mainly because I end up spending 2 to 3 hours editing a video, and then about an hour and a half for rendering it out, depending on the video length, because it takes quite some time to render out. I do 1080p 60 frames per second on all my content I can. And then, of course, it can take anywhere from 1 to 3 hours to upload videos. So in the past, like, I've seen, I'll be done editing and I'll start uploading, and Aaron this is like on an update day, I'll see that Aaron is still in Medieval Engineers or something. So I'm figuring, well, maybe he's still recording. Thing is, because my upload times take anywhere from an hour and a half to 3 hours, it doesn't matter if I got done first. His video comes out first, and then you get that little comment going, "Sage, why is your video so late?" And I go, "Oh, I don't know, good friend. I'm sorry, my internet is slow." My fault. Anyway, you get the drift there. I think that's everything. I've babbled for 12 good minutes of your time. I think that's 12 minutes and not 12 hours, I hope. Anyway, guys, that's it. I think that's the majority of the news. I'm going to try to build more mega structures and more just large structures. I doubt I'll get too much into machines in Medieval Engineers, as my brain and my OCD and all that nonsense kind of give me trouble with that. When I start messing with those, it's, well, I don't know, you're not my psychologist, so I won't go into details, but it just gives me a sort of trouble that I'm not going to explain it right now. Maybe in another one of these things in 2 or 3 months. Oh, right. So yeah, mega structures, big ships, little ships, just castles, fortresses, dwarven stuff. I'm going to try to find more time to do that, but of course, because of the editing and uploading and rendering times, I end up being just very tired and wasted by the time I'm done with any of that. And I just want to hop on Warframe and pew-pew for a bit and hope to God that game doesn't crash. What else do we have here? Modding. I really... God, I have like this big buildup of hatred of myself inside, just because of the lack of modding I'm doing. But at the same time, I am terrified to mod for Medieval Engineers, because I don't know exactly how that's all going to work. I really should just jump into it. But Space Engineers, I really don't know what the devs are going to do exactly. I'm hoping beyond all hope they are going to do a block inside block thing. And if they do that, I want to make a tile set of small hallways and walls and stuff that will work perfectly with that. Thing is, I don't know if they're doing it. So I end up, just sitting there going, well, are they going to do it or not? Should I spend all this time making the models, texturing them, UVing them, getting them all to work, making the construction states for that, and then getting them up there on the internet for people to use, and then, of course, making the videos showing them off, if maybe in a week's time or something, they could just go, hey, look, we got blocks inside blocks working, your mods are sort of obsolete now, or they need a lot of rework, or it could be, I know DirectX 11 is coming in the future. They showed us that one gravity generator. That was incredible. That was like, oh my god, is this around the corner? I was hoping it would be that week or the next, and no dice, and still nothing on that. And I'm dying for DirectX 11. I'm dying for, like, physical-based rendering, because I think that's what they're shooting for with that. I want to do that so bad, but that's the reason why I'm not making mods right now. It's one of the main reasons. It's because if I do make a mod and I texture it all up and I get it out there to, like, possibly the next week have the devs go, and here's our DirectX 11 update with some stuff and a few new models and stuff, I'll have to rework those mods if there's something I'm really happy with. It's like I plan to rework the Dead Space markers at some point in the future. But right now, I'm not going to do that until we get DirectX 11. And when I do that, I'm hoping they'll have AI in the game by then. That way I can maybe mod something up so the markers will actually spawn stuff. Or when you die, maybe I can find a programmer friend to help out at that point to make it so if you die, a necromorph spawns from your corpse or something. I don't know. That'll require a custom model too, which characters I'm not the best at modeling. Speaking of custom models, we do have the headsets or helmets you take off now. Unfortunately, I'm holding off on that as well for, of course, the DirectX 11 stuff. And then also because I cannot believe that that's their final solution, is the fact that you go to the med bay and click that button. I'm figuring this is probably a stopgap until they get DirectX 11 stuff, and then I'm presuming that they're going to do the character update. So a higher resolution model with better texture work and all this stuff. And probably a very similar design, if not completely the same, just higher fidelity to it. And then you'll just press a button or actually have an inventory thing where you take off your helmet and that. Because it is kind of insane, the idea that you have to run all the way to a medical bay just to take off your helmet. Maybe if you were taking off your whole suit and you had a completely different character, or I say completely different character, a completely different model for the whole character, then I could understand going to the medical bay or to like a changing room box or something that could be modded in. But right now I'm holding off on any custom character stuff for Space Engineers until they get that DirectX 11 stuff, and I'm presuming change the way taking your helmet off works. Boy oh boy. What else do we got? I mentioned on the Dead Space marker, a lot of people have asked me, like, whatever happened to the Dead Space marker? I've said in the comments before what exactly my plan was with that, or my lack thereof. I'll say it here now though. The marker was supposed to be, like, the second I loaded up that new world, I'd gone and spawned in an asteroid and made sure it had a big cavern, and I was actually a custom asteroid I built, like in Maya, before you could build them in-game, and I spawned it in there, and I stuck the Dead Space marker in there and unbuilt it, so it would be like, this would be my secret goal. I'd fly out there and build this throughout the season, and then once it's complete, the season would end, or I was hoping by that point AI would have been added to the game, and so I could activate it and then mod in, like, necromorphs or something to cause havoc once it was finished. And then, of course, a little bit of spoiler for Joint Survival here, so if you don't want to hear that, skip ahead about a minute. But the idea was that I was building this for Innic, or for a government above Innic, really. And that I would be selling the marker on to them. And the idea was that rebels and other factions might be after it as well. So that's the reason why I was like so derpy and secretive about it, is I didn't want to give that away to the other guys. So if they're watching this now, congrats. Now you know what my little dinky plan was. The idea was I was almost like a pseudo-terrorist, unitologist terrorist, going to sell this and give it to people, knowing full well they wouldn't be able to contain it and cause more marker outbreaks. Anyway, that was my idea on the Dead Space marker. And hopefully once AI gets added to the game, once DirectX 11 was working, I'll go back and be able to retweak that model, make sure it's up to par, and then go ahead and publish it again with some modded stuff. So once you finish it, it's much more difficult. It's actually has a hazard to it unless you keep it contained. And ideally, I'd like to have other mods, or I'd have a big mod pack where you actually have to build this big machine to build it instead of just a welder, like you have to actually grow it like they did in Dead Space 2. And back to modding in Medieval Engineers, I really haven't looked into that much. They haven't really mentioned if they're going to DirectX 11 on Medieval Engineers. It seems very strange that they wouldn't, but I'm assuming they're not already there. Their stuff does look actually, far superior to what they have in Space Engineers for the most part, texture-wise. But I don't know what they're doing with that, so I've been holding off on modding a little bit in that. And also, I'm a little unsure of what I would mod in at this moment, because I usually do think of sci-fi stuff. Maybe I'll mod in some undead nonsense, or werewolves or something, but again, I'm not much of a character artist, so eh. And then, of course, with digigrade legs, like 3-joint legs for like a werewolf, I'm not sure how exactly that would work. They did show in the most recent update, and something I forgot to show in my video, is the IK kinetic thing, so the legs kind of go up and down depending on where you step. That could work perfectly for a werewolf leg and stuff if it actually takes all the joints into effect. So, I don't know. Yeah, finicky, I'm getting off on a side tangent there. Anyway, guys, I think that's pretty much everything. One last thing I'd like to say is thank you for fucking subscribing and viewing my videos and watching all this stuff. When I started this out, I sold my car, bought a computer, and started rocking and rolling on just making video content, which very few people watched. I saw Medieval Engineers coming, and I was like, oh damn, this game looks awesome. This looks like the dream game I've always wanted. except for, you know, in early days, of course. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to make a video on this, and right away it ballooned out, and then I'm like, you know what, I'm going to build a big ship and just show it to people. And that ballooned out to 300 and something thousand views now. Selling my car and buying a computer with it paid off. That's a fluke. I was 24, maybe $25,000 in student loan debt when I did that. I didn't put a penny of that car towards that debt. I was like, screw it, my life's done. I'll go to jail if I have to at this point. I don't care. But those videos started working, people started watching, you started watching. And I'm under $20,000 in debt now. Just today, right before I did this, I sent another $200 for my student loan debt that got me under the $20,000 debt. So it's like 19,000 or something. It's still a huge amount, but it's going down. It's gone down a lot when you know, like $4,000 or so to 5,000. That's a lot of money to have gone down debt from sitting. I'm not gonna lie, it's in my parents' house. It's a decent house, but sitting in a room all day in front of a computer, poking around at buttons, switches, knobs, and all sorts of stuff in different games. Thank you. Thank you. Because I was done until you guys started watching and viewing and all that stuff. Thank you. Anyway, guys, thanks a bunch for watching, subscribing, and all that as always. My secondary computer, the new one I got last year, is now finally stable enough. I think I'm ready to do an office tour as soon as I get another shelf up and clean up my office. Because it's a mess. But yeah, I'll do an office tour then. You'll also get to see my face if you haven't seen it on my other little dinky channel. You can, people direct you, you'll find it, I think. Yeah, that's that. Anyway guys, again, thanks a bunch for watching, subscribing, viewing, or if this just happens to be the first video of mine you're watching, because somebody guy said, hey, check this out, there's some guy talking about stuff for, what is this now, 30 minutes? Nah, 22 minutes, for no reason, and you decide to watch to this point, well thanks! Why did you watch all the way through? Oh my god, goodness gracious, can I shake your hand and give you a hug? Anyways, that's it. Thank you a bunch for watching, listening, mainly listening probably this time, and I shall see you guys next time. Ta-ta. Time to go back to listening to Pink Floyd. Actually, I'm already listening to it. Hold on a second.